こんにちは、眠いロコです。Hi everyone, let's start with a quick quiz. Which word goes in the blank? The correct answer is 触れました。These three words are all pretty similar, but do you know how to use each one correctly? Even if you've studied あげる、くれる, and もらう before, it can still be hard to choose the right one on the spot, right? So use this video to get some practice and become more comfortable using them. Alright, let's get started. Before we go over each one, take a look at this quick summary. With あげる and くれる, the giver is the subject. But with もらう, the receiver is the subject. So let's start with もらう. Here's the basic pattern. B は A に X をもらう. For example, 私は父に本をもらいました. In this pattern, A, the giver, has to be someone other than yourself. In English, you probably wouldn't normally say something like, he received a gift from me, either, right? Well, you might say it in English depending on the context, but in Japanese, you never use もらう when you yourself are the giver. On the other hand, in most cases, the receiver is you, the speaker. And when you are the receiver, you can omit 私は. For example, in the previous example, you could say 父に本をもらいました. But the receiver doesn't necessarily have to be you. For example, 妹は母にバッグをもらった。彼は有名な歌手にサインをもらった。You can also use から instead of に. In particular, when you receive something from an organization or a group rather than a person, it's more natural to use から. For example, 会社から表彰状をもらった。Next, let's look at くれる. Here's the basic pattern. A が B に X をくれる。For example, 友達が妹にお菓子をくれた。This basically means the same thing as 妹は友達にお菓子をもらった。The only difference is who the subject is. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. When you use くれる, the receiver needs to be you or someone in your in-group. So, who exactly is in your in-group? Well, for starters, your family would be part of your in-group. To be honest, other than family, there's no clear rule for who counts as part of your in-group. Basically, anyone you consider close to you can be part of your in-group. That said, くれる is most commonly used when the receiver is you or a member of your family. And when you are the receiver, 私に is usually omitted. For example, 同僚がお土産をくれました。So, when would someone other than you or your family count as part of your in-group? Let's say you are the coach of a baseball team. If someone you know gives a glove to one of your players, you could say, 知り合いが私の教え子にグローブをくれた。In this case, you see your players as part of your in-group, so くれる works. that's about the only example I could come up with. Sorry. Anyway, the basic idea behind くれる is that something moves from someone farther away toward you or your side. So we use くれる when the receiver is you or someone close to you. However, there is one exception. When you are quoting what someone else said, you can use くれる even if the receiver isn't you or someone in your in-group. For example, 山口さんはお母さんが車をくれたと言っていました。ともかちゃん、彼氏がピアスくれたんだって。That's because when you quote someone, the point of view shifts to the person you are quoting. Using あげる instead in cases like this would sound unnatural, so be careful. Finally, let's look at あげる. Here's the basic pattern. A は B に X をあげる。あげる is the opposite of くれる。The basic image of あげる is that something moves away from you or your side. It might move from you to someone else, or it might move from one person outside your in-group to another. For example, 私は母に花をあげた。田中さんは佐藤さんに教科書をあげた。So, the receiver can't be you or someone in your in-group. For example, you wouldn't say, 夫は私にネックレスをあげた。To mean, my husband gave me a necklace. Instead, you would say, 夫が私にネックレスをくれた。Okay, that's it for もらう、くれる and あげる。So, to sum it up, with もらう, the giver is someone other than you. With くれる, the receiver is you or someone in your in-group. And with あげる, the receiver is someone outside your in-group. Now it's time to practice. Are the following sentences correct or incorrect? Here are the answers. How many did you get right? Today we learned あげる, くれる, and もらう. In the next video, I'll explain 手あげる, 手くれる, and 手もらう. Unlike あげる, くれる, and もらう we covered today, these expressions are a little tricky because there's no direct equivalent in English. But once you master them, your Japanese will sound much more natural. So be sure to check out the next video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. またねー。